My friends, the Lord be with you. This is a reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Glory to you, Lord. Mary set out and traveled to a hill country in haste to a town of Judah, where she entered the house of Zechariah and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the infant leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth, filled with the Holy Spirit, cried out in a loud voice and said, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And how does this happen to me, that the mother of my Lord should come to me? For at the moment the sound of your greeting reached my ears, the infant in my womb leaped for joy. Blessed are you who believed that what was spoken to you by the Lord would be fulfilled." My friends, the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. My father had died in March of 1994 at the age of only 66, and he had been sick for probably close to 3 years. So Christmas that year, 8-9 months later, was very bittersweet. It was very strange. First, my family was very much at peace because we knew that Dad was having the best Christmas ever in the glory of God, and all of his suffering and sickness was over. And the previous Christmases were pretty horrible, quite frankly, with him being sick and getting worse with each passing year. But he wasn't at the dinner table. He wasn't at the Christmas dinner. So it just wasn't the same. There was much peace. There really was. But there was also grief. It really was the strangest Christmas ever. Not necessarily sad. It was just strange. I remember a number of years ago, the week before Christmas, one of the local funeral directors had called me, and he needed a real big favor. They had a young man that had died a day or two before and had no parish affiliation. I'm not sure what religion he even was, but they needed someone to offer a funeral service for him at the funeral home. And I told him, sure, I'd be honored to. And if I remember, the man was only in his maybe very early 30s. And the funeral director told me his name, and it sounded familiar, at least his last name did. It was a name I'd seen on maybe some business of some kind, or it seems like I saw it on a van or on a sign or a billboard, something. It just sounded familiar. But his full name was not. And the funeral director said to me, "I'm not sure if you read the paper or saw the news, but he was the man that was found murdered on East Avenue yesterday morning." And I did see the paper, and that's why the name was familiar. So I agreed to help this family. And the service was only 2 or 3 days right before Christmas. And the young man had a really nice family. You know, a young daughter, about 13 years old at the time, and 2 sisters and a brother, and his mother was still alive, and she had some health problems. They were such nice people. And I felt so sorry for them having to deal with this the week before Christmas. And it was even more difficult to learn that weekend, it might even been the day of the funeral itself, was the 6th or 7th anniversary of the very sudden death of their father. So Christmas had become very, very painful for this family, and probably always will be. I wasn't sure what to tell them, you know? And I had been thinking about it the whole time from the funeral director's call until the day of the service. You know, what do you possibly tell them? How do you comfort a mother on such horrible, horrible news as your son's murder? You know? Especially right before Christmas. You can't reverse the roles on this one. You can't try to put yourself in their shoes, because I've never loved anyone that was murdered before. But I always remember what brought me such comfort and peace and hope when my parents got so sick, or when I've experienced painful things in my life that just make no sense at all. And it really is a very simple and it's a very real truth. In celebration and in joy, in tragedy and in sorrow, God is within us and always just surrounds us with his love. So I tried to help this family remember what the coming days really were all about. That Christmas was not just the celebration of the birthday of Jesus, as much as it is a celebration of the truth that God gave us his Son to be born among us and to be with us in all times of life in order to bring us peace and hope, no matter what was going on in our lives. Mary set out and traveled to a hill country in haste to a town of Judah, where she entered the house of Zechariah and greeted Elizabeth. What a scene this must have been. Here's these two screaming, pregnant women getting just hysterical with joy. The scene was proof of the power of their own beliefs. First, because of Mary's belief in the power and the love of God, she gave birth to the Christ. Because of Elizabeth's belief in the presence and the power and the love of God, she conceived a son in her old age, at least past the childbearing years, eventually giving birth to the messenger of the Christ, the herald. These two women were gifted by God because of their own beliefs. They were both obedient to God because of their faith. And they both endured all of this life because they always recognized the presence and the power of the Lord that was always within and around them. Always. Now, we know nothing else of Elizabeth much after this point. But we do know much about Mary. We know the harsh conditions of the pregnancy and the birth of her son. We know of her and Joseph's horrid fright at the thought of losing him for 3 days at the age of 12. And we know she was one of very few who stood at the foot of the cross and eventually held the lifeless body of her son. What we know about Elizabeth and Mary is how God takes care of those who believe. God takes care of those who are faithful. God takes care of those who put their total trust and their total faith in him, even and especially in the most difficult, painful, and confusing of times. It is now the final days and hours of Advent. John the Baptist said, "Prepare the way of the Lord, make straight his paths." Mary said, "I am the handmaid of the Lord. Let it be done to me as you say." And Jesus said, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, even if they die, shall live. And whoever is alive and believes in me will never die." So may we allow these final days before Christmas challenge us to truly understand exactly what we are about to celebrate. That the Christ, the Messiah, Son of God, has been born into our lives as they are. And if we truly believe this, and if the manner of our life proves this, we will one day live in the glory of God forever. If we truly believe this, and if the manner of our life proves this. I wish you God's peace.